time, please.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Slide, please. This is the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl is a 90,000-seat stadium in Southern California. Every day, we collectively as a nation waste enough food to fill that entire stadium from the ground up. Slide off. According to an article written by Lori Bongiorno, an environmental journalist, in October 2010, each year, we as Americans toss out about 27% of our total edible food. And the average family of four throws out about $600 worth of groceries per year. I'd much rather spend that $600 on a flat screen TV. I don't know about you guys. So think back to an instance where you wasted food. Did you order too much when you went out to dinner and you didn't want to clog up your fridge with leftovers? The food you threw away could have been eaten by any of the billions of starving people around the globe. Are you feeling guilty yet? Well, I'm not perfect. I myself try to not excessively waste food. It makes me sick when I see people just throw out full meals without any regret or remorse. In 2009, I volunteered at the Trenton Soup Kitchen, where I helped serve food to less fortunate people. It was quite a humbling experience, and I was glad that I could service people in need. If only people in our country would realize that food is limited and people in other countries are starving, and if only they wouldn't take their food for granted and just throw it away without even caring. Food wasting is a serious problem in the United States due to its ethical, economical, and environmental implications. But there are various measures that can be taken to ensure that we waste less and give unwanted food to people who really need it. So first, let's examine the problem of food wasting in America on an ethical level. So how bad is it really? The United States Department of Agriculture, or the USDA, reports that just over a quarter of the country's food, about 26 million tons, gets thrown in the garbage can every year. The UN World Food Program says that the total surplus of the U.S. alone could satisfy every empty stomach in Africa. The greater a family's income, the more waste they create. On average, high-income households dispose double the trash compared to middle-income households, and 4 times the amount of low-income households. In 2008, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that Bucks County has a median household income of $75,000 per year. In the United States as a whole, the median household income is approximately $52,000. Now, I just spit out 2 numbers at you guys, and you probably aren't really grasping that, so I'll demonstrate. Slide, please. Next slide. Here you can see a map of the United States. The dark green areas represent the areas with the highest median income, and the light green areas have the lowest, so like around here. Now let's zoom in. Next slide, please. We are right here in this dark green area. We are a county with one of the highest incomes when comparing to the whole country. Slide off. Food insecurity is defined as limited availability of nutritional and safe foods, or limited ability to acquire foods in socially acceptable ways. In our own country alone, the USDA reports that 15% of the homes in the U.S. are food insecure. Knowing this statistic, it seems morally absurd to be throwing away so much food. And no, the food you leave on your plate isn't going to be eaten by people in developing nations, but that doesn't mean that you can't donate excess food instead of preparing too much. Or you could buy less food and donate your extra cash to a local food bank. Now, besides being a moral concern, the problem of food wasting is a huge, huge economical concern. The 27 billion tons of food wasted per year translates to about $30 billion of wasted food. Researchers Michael Weber and Ashley Kuehler of the Center for International Energy and Environmental Policy at the University of Texas at Austin examined how much energy it takes to produce, package, prepare, preserve, and distribute a year's worth of food in the United States. The figure they arrived at was 1.4 billion barrels of oil. This 1.4 billion barrels equals between 8 and 16% of our annual energy consumption. And if by some miracle Americans stop wasting food entirely, the country would save 2% of its annual budget, or about 350 million barrels worth of oil. Either way, it still costs the U.S. around $1 billion every year to dispose of all the food waste, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. Now, all of these economic costs of food spiral into the environmental costs of food waste. Now, we know that oil is a non-renewable resource, which our country is currently dependent on for fuel. Throwing away 350 million barrels of oil on wasted food per year is not looking good for our future. Not to mention, the burning of oil contributes to the ongoing problem of global warming. When food rots, it releases methane, which is a greenhouse gas, and the EPA says that methane is 20 times more damaging to the environment than carbon dioxide. Landfills are the place where you would most likely find methane. They account for 34% of all methane emissions in the U.S. The use of plastic in food packaging is another major issue. Much of the plastic is not recycled, but instead left to rot in landfills. The plastic packaging from the food itself, plus the plastic waste from beverage bottles and the grocery store shopping bags adds up. A study done by Timothy Jones of the University of Arizona says that if Americans cut their food waste by half, the environmental impact by things such as land degradation, water depletion, habitat loss, greenhouse gas production would be reduced by 25%. Now that we know how serious of a problem food waste is, let's examine some ways that we can prevent it. The problem of food wasting can be solved by the proactivity of the community. Food recovery organizations are crucial to ensure that the massive quantities of edible food are not thrown away, but instead given to people who actually need it. Food service professionals can organize food drives and donate food to a local food bank or a pantry. They can also donate excess prepared food from restaurants or catered events. Now, if you want to prevent food waste, there are some things you can do. You could volunteer at a local soup kitchen or at a food recovery program. You could also suggest that organizations you belong to or businesses that you work for possibly could sponsor food recovery programs. You could also join a forum or a community run or walk to benefit a food recovery program. Now, more on an individual level, you shouldn't buy too much food at the grocery store, because if you buy excess food, most likely you'll be throwing out almost 40% of that food. If you dine in at a restaurant, you should try to order a smaller amount of food, or if you're going with somebody else, you should try to split the meal, because most likely restaurants will give you a huge portion of food. So if you split the food with your friend or whoever, then you'll both be eating less food and you'll both be wasting less food. You can also donate your non-perishable items that you're not going to eat, such as an unopened box of granola bar or cereal, to a local food bank. If the U.S. continues this trend of excessive wasting and overconsumption, things will turn out to be an ecological and economical mess. But if people take initiative today and put a stop to excessive wasting, there will be a brighter future ahead of us, featuring a better economy and a healthier planet. The problem of wasted food is a huge deal, both in the United States, for ethical, economical, and environmental reasons. We need to stop wasting food and make sure that it gets to the people who need it instead. So now that you are aware of the consequences of food wasting and how to prevent it, I encourage you to take charge of your food wasting habits and put a stop to them for the betterment of the entire country. If you would like to donate to a local food bank, consider that you have many choices. I have listed the names, addresses, and websites of the local food bank recoveries and programs. Slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so first we have Philabundance, and Philabundance is a local food bank that helps needy people in our area. It's the Delaware Valley, and I'm listing the website right here, philabundance.org. The second program is Share Food Program. Share stands for Self-Help and Resource Exchange, and this program is where people can get a break on their grocery costs. They can buy cheap groceries, but they have to volunteer at the place first for 2 hours to get the discounted groceries. And finally, Feeding America is a really great website that has a lot of information on how you can donate and how you can help out. The website's just right down there. Slide off. So consider donating some money to one of these fine organizations. In doing so, you will help the problem of food waste in America. Thank you.
We have 3 5s.
Jack, you can give me an evaluation.
All right, thank you.